Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to talk about setting up Openshift on Alibaba Cloud. Now, do remember that we are going to see two architecture diagrams, which is going to pave a way for you to understand and install. Because it's so easy to install it on Alibaba, because there's no automated installation. So definitely you need to look at this architecture diagrams, both of them, and try to understand what you're planning to do on the infrastructure side of things. So, firstly, you're going to have two methods of installation. So, one of these methods, which is easy, I'll just show you that. The other one, I'll just give you an introduction to it, the technical or technology preview, which is come out newly, so that I can give you a review and tell you how it's done. And the other one, the default method of installation, I'll just show it to you on my hands-on. Now, do remember for this, you need to have registered with both Alibaba and as well as with Red Hat, and that's both are free accounts, so you don't necessarily get charged for registering. But then when you start using these services, you may get charged. So do remember that. But in terms of OpenShift, you still have a trial version, which means that you're not going to get charged for OpenShift itself, as in the software. But when you deploy OpenShift on Alibaba, the resources which you're going to use on the environment will be charged. All right, so let's just go over to your OpenShift console. So I'm in the console.redhat.com/OpenShift, and within that you have the cluster, and you click on Create Cluster. Now these are managed services where it is managed autonomously without your help. But then these are some of the run it yourself, as in like it's a unmanaged services where you create a cluster on yourself, and you choose the number of control planes and data planes or your worker nodes, and then you basically customize all those things. Okay, so that's basically run it yourself, and these are managed where you cannot change the number of servers which gets created for the control plane or the data plane. And the other one is the data center. So this is basically when you want to install it on bare metal or some kind of a system which is dedicatedly for your cluster, and you want some virtualization software running there as well. So you kind of use it for that reason. And then we have the local over here where you want to run OpenShift on your system, like your laptop or your desktop. So we obviously have to choose Alibaba Cloud over here, and there is also a technology preview. A preview that provides early access to an upcoming product innovation, enables you to test functionalities, blah, blah, blah. So now that's what we're going to do. So here you have two methods, interactive method and local based method. So this is what I'm trying to explain it to you in this diagram over here. I'll just do it in a bit. But let's just talk about the differences which is on the console itself. So interactive is a new one, which is kind of like the technology preview over here. And the local based installation is where you have the default method of installing your application. Oh, sorry, your OpenShift. Now, local agent based installation is how by default you would traditionally do it on the bare metal, and traditionally you do it on this Alibaba cloud as well. And it doesn't matter if you have a private cloud, you can use the same local agent based installation method. It's almost similar to the interactive method as well. Both these methods require you to provision ECS on Alibaba. ECS is Elastic Compute System, and that's the EC2 instance equivalent in Alibaba. Okay, so ECS is not the container service which comes in AWS, so don't get confused with that. So both requires you to do provision the environment on Alibaba side. Both requires you to do manual things, but there is nothing automated, because if you go over the cluster type and you select AWS or Azure or GCP, you're going to get two different interfaces. One is like full control, where user provisions infrastructure, just the agent based kind of installation like that. and automated where installer provisions the infrastructure. So this is automated, autonomous, um, cloud formation based installation, where the provisioning of the infrastructure is automatically done by AWS. This is the previous method of installation we have already seen. Now, how it's different from Alibaba, if you see here, as I told you, it comes with local based installation where you will be getting an ISO file which has the pre-flight validation, and also this is for non-tested platforms and for air-gapped or restricted network. So in this situation, we use the local based, and here is the same thing, but there are two options in interactive mode. One option is like where your servers are accessible from the internet. For example, if you're using a public cloud, so you can directly connect with this cluster. So you will have the cluster configuration within this console itself. And then you have the smart defaults and connected networks and stuff like that. There's also another option inside the interactive itself for air-gapped restricted private cloud. Okay, so that comes with the similar features. It comes with like a little bit of features which we will talk in detail in some time. Now let's go over to the installation, so the architecture over here. So you have basically two different types of installation, what we discussed. So here in the interactive web UI, so the control of this particular cluster will be done from this console itself, like from your Red Hat console.red hat itself, because that cluster will become part of your Red Hat. But then the Red Hat will not provision any of their services or so their servers or services for this. You still have to work with Alibaba, export all those details to your Openshift console, which is over here. And Openshift from here will manage those servers, which is hosted in Alibaba. Anywhere, that doesn't matter. It could be a private cloud. It could be your own servers, which virtualizations, or your bare metal, where we want to use your bare metal to install softwares in that, and then put that, export it to this console. So that's basically an interactive method. Okay, so if you want to do that, you can get this done. And also you can generate configurations, you can do validations and stuff like that. Infrastructure is not automatically created on Alibaba or any other situations. It will be manually needs to be created and then added back to your console. I'll show you that how it looks like. And then you have the agent-based installation twice. One for your interactive installer, one for agent-based, that is the default one. So I'll explain you how it works. So as I told you, if you select this interactive installer, you're going to get two options here. One for the public network, another one for your private network. So the private network cannot be accessed from your Red Hat console. Then it needs to have its own console on your private network. So what it will do is like it will package all those things as ISO and give it to you, just like the agent-based installer. So what's the difference between this and that? Now this ISO will be larger because it contains all the extra items which has been integrated into the latest versions, OpenShift version, which is part of your technology preview. So it enables extra features like virtualization, logging, observability, but it cannot access your infrastructure, neither it can provision those servers. So you still are dependent on a manual method, even though if you're using an ISO for an interactive installer. Okay. So now the next method or the default method, what we used to do is like we download the ISO file. This is what ISO file it has. It has Red Hat Core operating system. So there's a new version of operating system called Core OS. Now this only has the requirements of a virtual machine. So whatever softwares and dependencies it needs to host as a virtual machine, or it needs to host itself as a master node, which is your manager node, or your worker node, where it is basically your data plane, or it's going to act as a bootstrap mode. Bootstrap mode is basically the first server gets installed, and then basically it creates this master node and worker node from the bootstrap node. So that's basically the starting point of your OpenShift installation. So if you are going for these three different types of installation, we kind of use this download iOS and then basically boot these machines. And these machines needs to be created on an infrastructure, either go for Alibaba or you go for a bare metal. So you choose that environment and you create an infrastructure and get those things going. And then it basically auto discovers nodes and it does the installation of OpenShift on all these servers autonomously without your interruption. Sorry about that. So without your interruption, it's going to install all these OpenShift and stuff on the service. But then the provisioning of these service needs to be done by yourself. And then what provisioning? So ECS instances, your Elastic Compute Service, and then your software load balancer, DNS for APIs and for your domain names to be listed. So all these things you need to do it by yourself. Now let's go inside this interactive method. So the local agent-based method is very simple. Download the ISO, download the installer, download the command line tool, download the pull secret, go to internet, search for Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Let me correct that. Red Hat Core operating system. Get that downloaded, and get that downloaded to a converted version of whatever your installer could recognize. We will talk about which format it recognizes on Alibaba, because ISO files are not recognized on Alibaba. So you need to convert it to a specific one, and then have that either if that is actually available on the internet. So which means that we will download that version of things. Now when you go over to you can see that when you select local agent based, you can see that the previous goes to platform agnostics. What this means is like platform independent. So which means that any platform you have and you choose to install it as a local agent mode. So it's not just your Alibaba, but your bare metal, everything which is not supported, right, will all end up in this particular local agent based method. So that's why it is going there here rather going to Alibaba. So one thing which goes to Alibaba is if you just select that and go to interactive. Now you can see that it has gone to an assisted installer. So it's still not gone to your this thing, but still it has gone to assisted installer. So here you have two options. So as you can see, this cluster detail, there is two options over here. One is installing as it is rather than selecting this. If you select this, you kind of say that you're installing on a disconnected, air-gapped, secured environment. And then basically what it does is like it doesn't not ask you for any details, because it knows that whatever the details you provide over here will be irrelevant for it to understand or to put it inside or hard code inside a configuration file. So all you have to do is like click on next. So basically you download, pull, you configure the clusters, and you provide the pull secret which is required for you to run the installation wizard. Okay, so again, this is ISO file is about 43.5 GB. Now why is it so big? Well, so the one which you need to download for the agent based installer is 1 GB. So that's the ISO file size. Okay, 1 GB file size. When you compare this with 43 GB, it's going to contain not just Red Hat Core operating system, but also it's going to contain OpenShift virtualization, migration tool for virtualization, enum state, node manager health check, blah, 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 loggings and stuff. So it's going to contain a lot of items in over here, which basically is an advanced version of, the agent-based installation. Now, if you're using agent-based installation, after installing it will download all these operators and have that installed. All these operators will be pulled down manually by yourself. But then this package includes most of the operator, and also it includes extra packages like virtualization from Openshift. So that's another software altogether. So due to which the size has gone up, and you can see that the OpenShift version it's going to install is 4.20. So this is pretty much what this download is going to cost you. So if you just click on download, it's going to get you the download which is needed for this and get that things going. But let's just do the other one over here, interactive method. So the interactive method needs you to fill all the details over here about your cluster. We will do that in some time, but not right now, not on this video. This is just video to discuss about the architecture. So I hope that you understood this. And when you said when I set up the hands-on for the actual agent based, I'll just give you a quick preview on this. It's just two steps, and then you get stopped in the host because it needs the host to be connected from Alibaba to here, and then it takes about all the details and basically creates a custom manifest, and still you need to install, you need to provision the servers and have this talking to each other, and then you will be able to do these configurations. Anyways, we will talk about that later point of time. So this is the same exact thing which we also do in this is the same exact thing which we'll also do in the local agent based method. So there's not much difference between this and that. Thank you again for watching this video. In the next video, we will talk in more detail about the next architecture diagram, where I tell you how to install it as a local agent mode. Thank you again. I'll see you in the next video.